The time has come to lay all my cards on the table. I have a confession to make. I was once a bad Bonanza fan. For the first several years after I became a fan of the show, I would not watch beyond season 6 when Adam left. In fairness to myself, I was 10 when I was introduced to the show properly and fell in love with it. How many 10-year-olds do you know that are going to willingly expose themselves to new things? See? That's what I thought. So don't judge me too harshly. Eventually, I did start to explore the world beyond my comfy Adam-centric view, and in recent years, I've come to appreciate those later episodes, and one character in particular. Griff. I really like Griff. He's an underrated member of the cast, and we did not get enough time with him. Okay, I'm kidding. But also, I'm not. Anyway, back to Mr. Canaday. What really prevented me from appreciating those post-Adam episodes sooner was my wariness to see someone brought in with the sole purpose of replacing Adam. From what I have read, the rest of the cast felt similar, at least around season 5 when Guy Williams was brought in to play Will Cartwright. They each wanted Purnell to stay, and even if he didn't, they felt that they could carry the show just fine without anyone else. Honestly, I think they might have been right. That being said, I started watching the Candy episodes and began to gain an appreciation for him the more that I watched. Because I didn't watch all the episodes in order, one of the first displays of Candy's character that really stuck with me was actually in the two-parter that kicks off the final season of the show. And spoilers, by the way, if you've never seen this episode. I'll try to keep it brief. In Forever Parts 1 and 2, Joe marries a woman named Alice Harper who later is killed. Joe leaves the Ponderosa in search of her killer. Candy winds up tagging along to keep him from doing anything he will regret. They could have played it as Ben sending Candy along with Joe, as they no longer had Hoss by this point. They instead have it be Candy's idea, and I really respected his desire to help his friend during Joe's darkest time. They have several episodes where they're played as a comedic duo, and it really does work. Even the ones where Joe, Hoss, and Candy play off comedy together all work well, though I prefer when it's just either Candy and Joe or Candy and Hoss, as in the moment in Caution Easter Bunny Crossing when Hoss has to rely on Candy to help him out of his full-sized bunny outfit. That's another one I'll leave out of context for those of you who have never seen it. I highly recommend that one. Joe and Candy even have a few moments when they fight over a girl. I think it was a good idea to have Candy be on such a level where it's made into comedy when he competes with the son of his employer for a girl's attention. I appreciate Candy's efforts to get any one of the Cartwrights out of trouble any way that he can. It's less of a standout to me when it's done the other way around, because the Cartwrights have always been known to fight for someone who works for them or is a friend. Candy going out of his way for them, though, is a different angle, and it makes me respect him. In the episode To Die in Darkness, Candy and Ben are held captive together, and it's one of the best episodes that season. And it actually may be one of the best of the entire show. I have to say that my favorite dynamic where Candy is concerned is him with Joe in another episode that really cemented my love of Candy, Commitment at Angelus, when Candy stays behind, wounded hand and all, to help Joe as he tries to investigate a crooked mine owner after the accidental death of his friend for which he feels responsible. Candy goes out of his way to make himself more than just another ranch hand, but rather a part of the family. In Griff's introduction episode, Riot, Candy volunteers to pose as a prisoner to get inside the state prison where Ben and 2 other men from a committee sent to inspect the prison are held until the prisoners have their demands met. In order to make his persona legit, he has to have his back scarred like so many of the others. How many of us would have our backs whipped just so we could pretend to be a prisoner, go into the belly of a prison under siege, and risk being found out by dangerous men, some of whom are killers? Of course, Joe offers first, but he can't go because he's too recognizable. And I actually prefer it that way because it's too easy as a literary tactic to send Joe. There's no doubt he'd do that for his father. Candy, on the other hand, never had to do a thing like that for someone who was just his employer and maybe a friend. When I first saw that there was a point where they had Candy sleeping in his own room instead of the bunkhouse with the other hands, it did throw me off a little. Off the top of my head, I cannot remember an episode where a foreman had that privilege, except maybe back in the Horsebreaker. And that was because that hand was injured and had to sleep in the house. And even he slept downstairs. He didn't get his own room. Knowing that Candy has joined the main cast, it does make a little more sense, though, and it makes scenes like that one I mentioned earlier with Hoss and the rabbit even better because he goes to Candy and not Joe. If Candy had been in the bunkhouse, that would not have been possible. This closeness with the family, along with his past knowledge of Griff, puts him in a great position to be a mentor and friend to the young ex-con when he joins the show in what turned out to be, sadly, its final episodes. The way he warns Griff not to hurt the Cartwrights and even worries for a moment in New Man that Griff has done something to Ben is really sweet. I will venture so far as to say that I like the father-son feel of Ben and Candy more than that of Ben and Jamie. Don't worry, redheaded adopted son. Your video is coming. If we Adamgals actually take the time to think about it, Adam probably would have really liked Candy. He might not have bonded with him the way Joe and Hoss did, because Candy's personality was more in line with theirs than his, but he would have respected his work ethic, and he would have been very grateful for the friendship Candy gave to his family. So if you're holding off on getting to know Mr. Kennedy because of your love for Adam, I do understand. I did it for years. I also recommend that you put that aside. Just like any aspect of the show beyond Season 6, there is a lot to love. Yes, Candy was brought in to replace Adam, but I now look at him as more of an extension of the show when I watch it. He's far from the only one who gets a spot on the opening credits by the end of the show, after all. I've mentioned before that it would have gone a long way to soothe our pain if Adam had just gone to a spin-off show. That might have made us Adamgals more generous in our approach to Candy from the beginning. We must try to remember that this is no fault of Candy's character, though, nor is it the fault of David Canary, who does an amazing job as Candy. My hope is that, as I have, this video will help you judge Candy on his own rather than against Adam. They never needed another member of the cast, especially while Hoss lived, but the addition worked very well, and I have come to love Candy as a character and look forward to seeing him on screen. If you're a Candy fan, what are your favorite things about him and your favorite episodes that he's in? If you're an Adamgal who has been holding off on watching beyond his departure and getting to know Candy, have I said anything to change your mind? We've reached the final video of my second year doing this channel. I still am beyond grateful that at time of recording I have 1,032 subscribers. Thank you all so much for joining me another year, and I hope to see you in the next one.